Welcome to season 6 of the Retail Tea Break podcast. My name is Melissa Moore, the Retail Advisor and Rethink Retail's top retail expert for 2024. Each week, I'll be joined by industry experts, retailers and brands to dispel the myths, share knowledge and give you an insight into the retail industry. You can listen back to previous Retail Tea Break podcast episodes on your favourite podcast platform or, of course, on YouTube. And while you're there, please do subscribe to the podcast so that you get to listen to it first every week. So in the meantime, grab that cup of tea, sit back and listen in to season 6 of the Retail Tea Break podcast. So today's episode of the Retail Tea Break podcast is sponsored by Salesforce, who bring companies and customers together. And I'm joined by a seasoned technology marketing executive with proven commercial success at executive and board level within tech, marketplaces and e-commerce, rapidly scaling international businesses working in both the B2C and the B2B environment. Today's guest is also highly skilled in go-to-market strategies, building marketing teams, brand and product positioning, field marketing, product marketing, and demand generation at an international level. Gavin Murphy, Chief Marketing Officer at Scurri, welcome to the Retail Tea Break podcast.
Delighted to be here, listen. Thanks for having me on the show.
Not at all. I'm really excited to chat today. I think the area that certainly Scurri is working in right now is one that is needed within the industry and probably one that's not necessarily well known to a lot of brands and retailers out there. So before we kick off, in the age-old fashion of the Retail Tea Break podcast, in the time that it takes to boil a kettle, which I'm told is about 2 minutes, tell us a little bit more about you and your background in the industry.
Sure, yeah. So I suppose I've kind of always been involved in the online space way back, and I won't give a year because it'll show my age. I was part of the team that helped set up MBNA, the credit card bank in Ireland. So I suppose unique, it was the first online banking application within the market and also the first online application process to actually apply for a credit card. So I spent a period of time there. Then I made the brave decision to move to Kerry, and I worked for a very infamous entrepreneur called Jerry Kennelly down in Stockwhite in Tralee. And that was a unique business. So it was selling stock photography globally from Tralee. And again, VC funded, grew quite rapidly and went from probably 5 million in turnover up to 50 million in turnover. So, and a very, very successful exit from that company for all of those involved. Came back to Dublin then, and with another seasoned entrepreneur called Oliver Tatton, spent some time in Vivus Health, which is, again, different business model, looking to sell health insurance, a complex product online. So spent a period of time there and then got the bug to do something for myself. So set up a company in the kind of mobile content space and had reasonable success until the introduction of the smartphone, which killed the business overnight. So plenty of scars and learnings from that. Then I moved into a very interesting company called Iron Planet. So this was an online marketplace for used construction equipment. So part of the startup team there in Europe, heavily backed by Kleiner Perkins on a sell, key VCs in the US, and went about scaling that business up to probably 30 million in sales by the time I had left. So lots of learnings, lots of stuff we'd figure out on the fly, lots of complications selling across Europe, but overall, really, really, really beneficial journey. And then I joined a company called Elevate. So they were in the online ancillary revenue space. So we worked with brands like Sports Direct, Ryanair, the Hut Group to help them convert some of their customers into paid subscription services. So very clear in terms of the e-commerce space and how we would fit in there. And then was part of a team that MBO'd that company. So I was there for a number of years and then decided I'd like to step into the working closer with tech companies. So I kind of exited that company. And then I worked for a couple of years with lots of different tech companies, just helping them with go-to-market proposition, some fundraising efforts, some of the kind of scaling challenges that they were encountering, which brought me on then, I suppose, to Scurri. So started a conversation in 2021, and the rest, as they say, is history. I've been year number 3 now at Scurri.
Wow, incredible, absolutely incredible experience and knowledge, as you say, Gavin, that you've gathered over the years in so many different areas, but bringing it all together now in Wexford with Scurri. And I suppose to talk a bit more about what Scurri does. So it's a carrier management platform, but I suppose for those listening, and even for me to really dig in there and understand a bit more, how does it all work?
Yeah, so there's a key challenge every retailer have, which is when they're selling online, they need to find a way to actually fulfill the order and get the order into the customer's hands. So that missing piece is once an order is placed with an e-commerce retailer, they have to be able to have a last mile carrier allocated to pick it up from the warehouse and actually deliver it to the customer. So that is difficult when you're doing 10 or 20 parcels a week. But when you start to scale into the thousands and hundreds of thousands, then it becomes difficult because you probably need more than one carrier. You probably need different types of carrier service offerings like same day, next day. Maybe it's a bulky item and you need a two-man delivery service. So you can imagine from the retailer's point of view, trying to figure out that piece in the puzzle to say, how do we process a million orders a year and make sure that each and every one of those orders is allocated to the correct carrier and that it gets delivered efficiently to the end consumer? Because ultimately, in e-commerce, we're all trying to keep consumers happy. So that's the complex piece they need to figure out, and that's what Scurri does. So we've a platform. It's served as a SaaS product, and it brings all of those carrier API integrations into one central platform, and then the retailer can, through our product offering, access those carrier libraries, and then through the integrations, obviously, we facilitate that actually delivery process. The one added complication is it's one system of many systems in the e-commerce landscape. So they have lots of different systems, from warehouse management system, order management system, the front end where they actually process the order through the website. All of those systems need to talk. So it's no good that you have a very effective warehouse management system if it doesn't talk to the carrier management system to know this order has been placed, this order needs to be allocated to this carrier, picked up on this day, and processed out through the warehouse. So that challenge for retailers makes it a challenge for Scurri to make sure that we're integrated to that tech stack. So, we integrate to various different warehouse management systems, 3PLs, order management systems, and we need to make that whole process seamless for the retailer so that they can go about their business of acquiring customers and processing orders.
You make that sound so simple, which is obviously what Scurry does. It is seamless, but when you start to pull that apart, and I'm kind of sitting here listening, thinking, crikey, from a retailer's perspective, there is so much that can go wrong there. As you said, even just making sure the items in stock half the time, and we've certainly saw that over COVID, it is one issue, let alone having to actually ensure that that parcel gets to the retailer, but actually for the shopper. Most of us, we're so used to now, you just clicking the button, paying for something, and magically expecting it to arrive 2 days later or even next day. But again, there is so much that can go wrong, and Scurry being plugged in there just takes away that fear, I think, but also that anxiety for the retailer. Because if you've got thousands of customers buying from you every single day or even over a period of a week, that's thousands of customers that actually you will alienate and will walk away.
Absolutely. And one of the, when you look at negative reviews, Trustpilot reviews, one of the highest percentages that fall into negative reviews is around delivery related issues. So again, we have what's called buying anxiety. So we're all great for online shopping. Certainly through the last number of years, we've all become experts at it. But when we go into a physical store, you walk away with your goods. When you buy online, you exchange your money and you wait for those goods to be delivered. So you have that anxiety that sits there until you've physically received the good that you've ordered online. So yes, there is an awful lot that can go wrong, and we are there to power retailers to ensure that that process is as smooth as it possibly can. And again, with the range of offerings of delivery that we have within the platform, we see speed as one of the key things. So more and more consumers want, same day delivery, or worst case scenario, next day delivery. So, we have to work with the carriers within our library and potential new carriers to ensure that we have the most relevant service offering for retailers, consumers.
Sounds fantastic. And again, needed. It's that hidden part of that retail experience that actually the consumer doesn't need to know about. It just needs to magically appear on their doorstep, the next day. But you ensure that that happens and that all those working parts are in order to make it happen. And By the sounds of it, then, the way Scurry acts or interacts with the retailers, as that retailer or brand starts to grow, so whether that's with, I don't know, a bigger portfolio or categories, they're adding SKUs all the time, or whether that's opening more locations, it sounds like Scurry's then positioned to support that growth. So, really, no matter how big the retailers or the brand's business is, you can help them support that kind of operational effectiveness to ensure that that consumer still has that perfect experience.
Absolutely. So our platform is built for control and with scale in mind. So, retailers typically will negotiate with different carriers for volumes and for rates. And, our platform allows them to upload those agreements and ensure they have flexibility. So one of the key things we see with brands as they scale into 100,000, 500,000, a million orders, they need flexibility around order allocation. So they'll have maybe up to 6 or 7 carriers in play, and they will split the volume across those carriers. And the one thing at scale they need is that flexibility. So if they have an issue with a particular carrier, or if they see demand for a different type of service offering, they need to be able to switch volume instantaneously. And I think one of the key competitive advantages Scurri offers is the ability to do that. So we've a very powerful and flexible rules engine where it's self-administered. You can go in onto the platform and in real time, you can switch volume from one carrier to another within your carrier allocation. And you can imagine when orders are processing through at maybe 10 or 20,000 per day, you can't have any backlog on those. And there has been challenges in the past where, particular service offerings haven't been available online. The great thing with Scurri is you can go in, you can change the carrier allocation in real time, and your business continues. And with us, the second thing that's crucial is that it is a platform that has to be available 24/7, 365 days. So we pride ourselves in platform uptime. So, we're currently running at 99.99997 of platform uptime. So you can be sure our platform is available when an order is requested and a label needs to be generated.
That's phenomenal. And again, as everyone knows that listens to this, I'm not a tech expert, but that even from a customer or a shopper perspective is phenomenal. So when I'm sitting there at 2 a.m. and I've placed my order, and no doubt there's someone picking and packing that's been scheduled on to do so. Again, it's this seamless offering because I suppose the retailer can only control the scheduling of those people in the warehouse. If they do control their own warehouse and their own picking and packing, they cannot control what happens after that. So I think knowing that Scurri is there just seamlessly again, and I love that word today, just making sure that that package is leaving and therefore reaching the customer has to be useful for that retailer because it just means everything they control, they can plan for, they can strategize, they know that the budget is there for, but they also know that product is leaving
Yeah.
when it needs to quickly to get it out of there.
Absolutely. And that's the bit you don't see. It's seamless. So as it comes through on the pick and pack bench, every single order, they will know which carrier, when they arrive, which order is to go. So whether it's DPD or FedEx or DHL or Royal Mail, it is very clear for each order that's processed where they're going and who they're getting delivered to. And that's the bit that we just make seamless.
That it sounds so useful, especially in this day and age. And you've obviously seen the growth of that over the last few years. But with that, I have to ask, with everything you do, we come to that time of year where it is pure chaos. Let's be really honest, especially from I suppose, whether it's the media, the communications out to the customer with Christmas on its way and Black Friday. How have you coped with that over the last years? Because you must see an unbelievable jump, not only in the service you need to provide, but also with the sheer volume that's moving through the system.
Absolutely. So to give a sense of the scale, each year Scurri would process in excess of 150 million orders and shipments. And the value of those, I think this year is coming shy of 12 billion euros. So we are moving quite a lot of products and value within those products intrinsically. So definitely of that, you will see within that golden quarter, a huge percentage of those sales land. So we see with lots of our clients, they have those sales peaks that they would do maybe 30, 40% of their entire year revenue in a very short period of time. Interestingly enough, we also see there are different peak periods. So for some retailers, their peak can be during the summer, whereas again, most of the mainstream consumer goods, the peak would be around that kind of golden quarter era. what do we do in terms of helping them prepare for that period? So the first thing is, as I said, is the platform availability. We need to know that when that period hits, our platform, our tech stack, our servers, everything related is scalable and ready to deal with all of those volumes that come in. So the key challenge for us is preparing for that and ensuring that, we have excess capacity, and we would always over plan for the volume. So we will do regular meets with clients to understand what their volumes are. So we look at historic volumes, we look at what they're forecasting for the current kind of peak period, and then we would overlay much of a buffer on top of that to ensure that we would have coverage. The second thing is just having flexibility. So as I said before, it's very important, even if you have those carrier agreements in place and you have volume agreements with each carrier, you need to know that during the peak period, you will have flexibility to switch. So if you encounter an issue with one particular carrier, that you have flexibility to switch. And again, I suppose we prep for that. We make sure that our clients understand how to use the platform to its effective levels, how to switch carriers, and that they're well versed in terms of how to make those changes. And the third thing I think we do is, we're looking obviously at the data we have. So we process, I said, like over 150 million transactions every year. So that cumulatively adds up to quite a lot of volume. So there's a lot of data and insights that we can share with retailers that will help them prepare for during peak periods. We've seen the best performance for this particular type of carrier service, or, we see there might be a higher conversion rate if you offer delivery options at checkout rather than waiting for the order to be processed. So there's lots of different ways we can work with retailers to help them prepare for peak and have the best peak. And as you rightly say, it is a key focus within the retail calendar each year.
And it's great then, Gavin, that you can also feed that data back. So again, we're sitting in May right now. We know people are already planning for peak this year if they haven't started already. That you're having those conversations, that you can advise, I suppose, as well, those retailers out there to guide them to the best way forward. It definitely feels like a partnership, that it's a two-way communication street there, I suppose, especially for such a busy time of year. But I suppose this all leads on to having a perfect experience. We've talked about the shopper. They pay and they expect that delivery. It's not always seamless. As you said, reviews out there will certainly tell you that. I had a very frustrating incident a few weeks ago of buying a new pair of shoes, which were fabulous when they eventually arrived. And it was stone cold silence between me giving them my money and these pair of shoes actually arriving, which actually was frustrating. And it is disappointing. Will I buy from this brand again? Probably not, which actually is really sad and really disappointing. So what you do is, I think, probably not talked about enough. That support, that service, that knowing that my pair of shoes was going to drop in a timely manner, that I didn't have to go chasing people for, is something that I suppose leads to not only a loyal customer, but there's that idea of hyper personalization, because you are ensuring that I got the goods in the time and the manner that I expected them. And that retailer has to play a part. So we know that hyper personalization, loyalty, ensuring a shopper stays with the brand have been huge themes for the last few years in retail, especially in this kind of post-pandemic age. But Scurry's found a fantastic way of continuing, I suppose, the sale, the communication with this idea of a post-purchase experience. Tell us a little bit more about it.
Yeah, so to give a bit of a backdrop to that, what do we see happening in the market in the last couple of years? So the first thing is conversion rates are in decline. So it's
Yeah.
more and more difficult for retailers to make a sale for a first-time visitor to their website. The second thing we see is that they've had to spend more in terms of acquiring those customers. So the media cost, be it AdWords, be it through Meta, every bit of media has got more expensive. And I think the third thing we're seeing is there is a heightened increase. So with the change with Google Analytics 4, with data privacy regulation, it has got more tight around how retailers can use and retarget customers. So that's the backdrop to it has become basically a little bit more of a headache and more expensive to find new customers and convert them on the website. Against that, you have customers who have purchased from you before as a brand, and they expect a good experience from when they browse on your site right through to when they receive their goods. The challenge for brands and for retailers is historically they have a very branded experience as they come through onto the website, all the way through as you select potentially your new pair of shoes that you bought. And then what happens is you add to cart and you check out, and you get a confirmation to say your purchase has been processed, your goods will notify you when your goods are out for delivery, and then silence. And then that relationship gets picked up by the carrier. So it could be a Royal Mail, it could be DPD, it could be FedEx. And then they now take ownership of that communication until you actually receive your goods. So as a consumer, I've purchased from the brand, but now my relationship with the brand hasn't changed, but the communication is coming directly from the carrier. So there's a missed opportunity there where you expect to own that full customer delivery experience. So from my purchase on the site right through till I actually receive my goods, I as a consumer would expect, and research shows this, that you, the brand, should be engaged with me all the way through the journey. And then you say, why? Well, one, it gives a better branded experience for the consumer. So if I buy from brand X, it's a brand X journey all the way. Secondly, I would trust the accuracy of the tracking updates more if it comes from the brand rather than from the carrier. And that's just the way of life. People would say, okay, you're the brand, I bought from you, I will trust the update that you give to me, and I'd expect you to put it right if it's delayed or something goes wrong. And the third thing really then around is, if you're delivering a branded experience post-purchase, there's an opportunity, while I'm highly engaged, because the open rates on post-purchase tracking updates is the highest of any email you will see out there. So I've got now a captive audience that's highly engaged, and there's an opportunity there for me as a brand to bring them back into a purchase journey, that maybe there's something complementary they might like to buy, or there's something else that's next season that you give them preview access to. So there's an opportunity there to kind of market in a compliant way to those that are interested. So I think there's threefold process there. So looking at this opportunity, we launched Scurri Track Plus in 2023. So we're experts in tracking data. So why not fulfill that full customer delivery journey and make sure that it's a branded experience? And it gives the control back to the retailer, where they can now send branded tracking emails. They can have a branded tracking page where you can see what stage that your order is at. Within that page, then there's opportunity to have targeted upsell information. And then they can also embed it as a tracking widget. So if they want to do it within their own environment and have it as part of their own tracking page, we can place it as a tracking widget. So the idea here is that you have a better delivery experience. You can address issues sooner and make sure that you rectify them so that there's less than negative delivery reviews. And then you get the customer back. So you drive them back either by the email or you drive them back by the tracking page. And when you have them there in a compliant environment, there's the opportunity to sell more.
I love this. That one word, trust. Because even going back to my famous shoe experience now, had I had a branded email, I would have been okay. Had I had a branded email that said, whether it's a delay or actually just a reminder, here's the time period we said it would take to give you your shoes, I would have been fine. But as you said, radio silence, and then you get a random email from a random carrier, and you're not actually sure if that carrier is definitely the one with your shoes, or is it, a bit of spam, because there's so much more of that around right now. The branded email, that trust, because I have built a connection with the brand I bought the shoes from. I've spent time on their website. I have bought from them. I've given them my money. That speaks volumes. So even when things go slightly wrong or things take slightly longer than expected, I'm okay because I've had an email from that brand. It's been soft and polite and in their tone of voice. And because it's come from them, again, that experience hasn't been broken. That journey with the customer just continues.
Absolutely. And what we do is, it's about being proactive too. So consumers understand things do go wrong.
Yeah.
But the issue they have is where it's pushed to the carrier, and the carrier may have conflicting messaging around it's successfully delivered, or it's out for order, out for deliver at the same time. You kind of go, well, physically, you're not quite sure how that is. But I suppose from a retailer's point of view, where they have access to the tracking data, where they can see where the goods are, what stage they're at, if there is a delay or an exception, then there's the opportunity to proactively intervene there, to send, branded email to let them know, look, hey, just to let you know, something's gone wrong. We're working on it to fix it. It may take an extra few days, but we'll put it right. here's 10% discount on your next order, or potentially, in fact, if you spend £50 next time around, we'll give you free delivery. So I think there's a way where you can actually take a negative and turn it into the positive, and it gives the control. And the brand is the trust piece. They are the ones that need to put it right. They are the ones that have the most vested interest in making sure that it's a seamless process.
And that customer's going to come back, aren't they? I think there's plenty of research that shows us once we trust and we're loyal, we'll keep shopping. But by the sounds of it, this idea of really amping up the post-purchase experience, there's got to be competitive advantage in there, Gavin. Like this has to play out really well from all the data you're gathering and retailers and brands you're working with. This has got to be hugely beneficial for them.
Absolutely. So we see it with the clients we work with. They get a higher conversion rate on upsells in terms of either through the email or through the branded page. They get lower what's called WSMO inquiries. So where is my order? One of the key things, the first thing you do is it's back to that buyer anxiety. It's okay, now that I've spent the money, it's okay. They told me it'll be delivered in 2 days and it's day 3 and I haven't. So where's my order? So the first thing you do is you contact the brand. So we see when you proactively engage and have that branded experience, you get a lower volume of WSMO queries. So the other side it can do is, as I said, it's very expensive now in terms of acquiring new customers. And, from a CAC point of view, it gets kind of really, really challenging. So there is an opportunity which there hasn't been that dedicated focus on. I know retailers do look at it, and it's important to like, what's our repeat purchase? What's the long-term value on our clients, on the customers? However, this is a real tangible way that you can start to turn the needle there. So it's okay. How can we use post-purchase experience to actually drive more revenue from our existing customer base? And you can see the market is challenged. There's definitely less money available. It is more difficult to drive new revenue. So brands that want a bit of competitive advantage are looking at 2 things. How do we sell more in other markets? And how do we get more repeat business from our existing customer base?
There's a great hint here then as to what they can do next. Because again, from a shopper's perspective, it is such a lovely way to keep that communication line open. And as you said there, Gavin, hint at what's coming next, hint at maybe new goods or something additional that the shopper might like to buy next time. It seems like a win-win. So look, final question then. I suppose what's coming up for you and Scurri for the rest of the year?
Yeah, so we've exciting plans. So obviously we launched Scurri Track Plus in 23. So we're really starting to see the demand for that product increase now for obvious reasons we've discussed. We've also entered the German market, so we're recruiting heavily for German staff. We're launching our German website. So lots of activity there, and we're also looking at the postal space. So one of the clients we work with is An Post in Ireland. So we power their e-commerce offering for their SMB client base. So we're actively leveraging that success to target more postal operators in the global space, and working on our product roadmap. Like everything in software and all things tech, you can't sit still. You need to deliver more functionality, more features, more value add to retailers. And I think one in that space is around the whole topic of AI, which I know is hot in retail. So everyone is trying to work what's the best approach to AI and how in each individual areas they can deliver competitive advantage. So like, at Scurri, we're also currently looking at the AI space and what we can do. We have a huge volume of data, as we talked about before. We've quite a lot of insight there that we can share that will give competitive advantage. Things like looking at estimated delivery date, understanding based on previous behavior and results, what is the actual predicted date that the goods will be delivered. And then, yeah, within the post-purchase space, there's a world of opportunity with the whole AI
How
transition.
exciting. And all of this from Wexford, which I do love. It's such an incredible brand and such a brilliant story. So, look, if you've enjoyed today's podcast episode, please do like and share it. Remember, you can also listen back to past Retail Tea Break episodes on your favorite podcast platform or, of course, on YouTube. Connect with myself and Gavin on LinkedIn. And obviously, I'll pop all Scurri's details into the show notes. And remember, you can find show notes and the transcript for today's episode on theretailadvisor.ie. Gavin, thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks so much, Melissa.